No, exactly, Beverly. I mean, it's devastating and shocking. The four were originally sentenced in January, as you said, and they had tried to appeal in April, but actually the appeals were rejected because only Min Aung Hlaing can reject the sentencing or uphold the sentencing under the new laws enacted by the military since the coup. So, we also had a scare a couple of months ago where we heard that the men were executed or were about to be executed. And we were able to really corral and get the international embassies and countries to attend to this. And luckily, that was a false rumor. And we'd been so desperately hoping that this was false, but it seems that this has happened. And to say that we were expecting this is definitely not true because I know for a fact that the family had just spoken to the men on Friday and they certainly were not expecting this to happen so soon and in such a cruel way.
So you had a chance to talk to the family members. What have they said to you?
This is so horrible, Beverly, because the family members found out exactly like we did through state media and after the fact. They had no prior warning. There was no way to even try to go down to the prison to see them themselves in the flesh. So this morning, after they heard on the news, some of the families actually went down to the prison to try and find out what was going on. And they were told, well, if it was written in the state media, it must be true. So you should just accept it. Of course, they didn't. And they pushed to at least even try and retrieve the bodies if that had been what had happened. And still to no avail, they haven't been able to even retrieve their loved ones' bodies yet. And I've just recently, in the last 5 minutes, got confirmation that one of the families have said that their loved one was cremated very shortly after. Now, Beverly, we still don't know whether this happened yesterday or the day before. There's no answers, and the military junta is refusing to even announce this formally to the families in any way.
Manny, how do we explain this action from the junta? I mean, they were in power for many, many years, yet this sort of thing didn't happen. What do you think is going on?
I think this just shows their complete impunity, that they know or that they think that they can act with total impunity. And it also shows that international action is not working, that we need to try harder and that we need to really now enforce those targeted sanctions that we've been calling for since the beginning. But this also shows the level of violence that's actually going on in Myanmar right now. It's spiraling, and it's certainly going towards a failed state. Some would already say that it's reached that point. It's certainly a pariah state at this point in time. But for me, it's so opaque because the junta continues to hold a really tight grip. There's an internet outage almost in every part of Myanmar right now, and it's very difficult for people to even get news out in a safe way.
So when you talk about renewed international pressure, to a degree, international attention had been averted, from Myanmar. What do you think is required? We've seen ASEAN leaders try to exert some influence. What can happen in this kind of dynamic?
Look, it's so clear that the ASEAN 5-point consensus has utterly failed. They've had no traction from the Myanmar military, and there's been no reprisals for the Myanmar military for failing to uphold any of their part of the plan. We need to see much stronger leadership from ASEAN. But I think at this point in time, we can definitely say that the 5-point plan is down the toilet. They need a new strategy. They need to show some leadership. And I think at this point in time, it's going to be coming from the individual member states like Indonesia, like Singapore, or even Malaysia. Cambodia has been a complete enabler of the military, and they hold the chair right now, and they've shown that they will side with the Myanmar military. So there's no point looking to ASEAN for any answers or solutions at this point in time. What I want to see is further action regionally from our own part of the world, Beverly, which is Australia. Australia has failed to enact targeted sanctions, as we've been calling for. They failed to side with their, generally like-minded Western partners. And this government, this Labour government, when it was in opposition, said that it would work to impose targeted sanctions on Myanmar and work in a unified way with other like-minded countries. And it's clearly time that they need to start imposing this now, because if they don't, the military will just continue to enact one horror after another.
Yes, and this is a rude awakening that action has to be taken. Manny, I really appreciate you joining us at a very difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you.